Hi everyone. I'm not sure how much you know about Haberdashery, but we're a company who's been around about 10 years, and we are heavily invested in using light to tell stories. And recently we've really been pushing this language of light to the forefront of what has been a company involved in art, design and technology. And light is really the thing this year we want to highlight as the tool we use to make emotional connections with our audience. So emotional connections and light, it's super important for us to reach out and actually have a dialogue with the people who witness, experience, purchase our work. And why is that important? Well, for us, I think the lighting industry is at risk of becoming, pardon the pun, but quite cold appearing if we don't actually make a really tangible connection with the audience and allow them to engage with what lighting should be and how it helps improve your life and how you have some kind of connection with the space the light actually illuminates. So my background is a photographer, and this golden hour that everyone is aware of within a good, beautiful, sunny day is something that I always try to capture. And that always had a very strong emotional resonance for me as a photographer. I think also for all the other people you see at that time of day, bathed in that colour of light. And something about that magical moment has always been within our thinking at Haberdashery, and it's that kind of response to a moment we're looking to recreate. Again, the way light can pass through a bedroom curtain into your room and make a very simple connection with light. Sometimes that sheer, direct emotional connection is missing in lighting products and the way light is specified within architecture. And we're looking to make a change in that by introducing a more, I think, direct way of communicating. As a kid, I was always very interested in how you could pull a veneer over the world and create, I think, a different way of seeing the space around us. So when we look at the world in a mirror, sometimes it's a bit more of an exciting place to be. And when a view we're looking at is draped in colour, it often becomes a much more emotional thing to connect with. So here's an image showing London, but bathed in fog and a pink light that the photographer has really pumped up. And to me, it seems more dreamy and film-like and instantly a more interesting place, even though this is just the kind of not particularly exciting view of some old Victorian buildings, perhaps a little bit run down, but a very beautiful image. And it's that beauty through light that helps create this emotional bond that we're so interested in. And for years, for decades, eons, humankind has been in awe of light, and sunsets and the light from our nearest star are perhaps the easiest way to explain that ancient fascination with light, along with things like our harnessing of fire, or fascination with comets and the stars. There's a real long-term connection between humankind and light, and that's what we're looking to bring back. So over the last year, we've been exploring, I think, ways that the sun and our nearest star can influence the way we experience light. And over the last few months, we've developed a series of collectible sculptures that are currently on display, inspired by the sun and in response to the current London Design Biennale. So they have an exhibition based on emotional states. And we've looked at that moment that the sun drops down below the horizon and almost liquefies in the last 5 to 10 minutes of the day, if you're lucky enough to be somewhere you can see that horizon, and of course it's a clear day. So that very intense moment of colour, we've explored in 3 separate ranges of colour in these sculptures, which are around ½ a metre high, made of 6 dual glass layers that encapsulate these colour films that explore how that colour drops away. And they're framed by a central core with an intense illumination from LEDs within that brings that sense of liquid colour. And through these layers, we're able to then start to explore how the reflections create that liquid moment of a sunset. And also we backlight them to spread light out across that floor in the same way that that colour of light spreads across the horizon at that key moment of a sunset. So these are designed to be placed in a window, so you can have real sunlight coming through. Or in this case, and at the Somerset House as part of the Biennale, they're actually lit from behind to create this colour cast. But what we're really trying to do is tap into your memory of light. We're trying to trigger that memory of a fantastic moment that you have experienced, something very personal that brings light to life for you. And so these sculptures have a variety of languages embedded in the design, whether it's the way the glass is edge-lit, which mimics the way, or emulates the way a cloud might pick up colour around the edge when backlit by the sun, or that liquid moment that the the depth perception drops away as the light's passing through such a deep layer of airborne particles. The colour becomes very fluid and quite hard to focus on, and you get that shimmering effect just before it disappears. So you can see here in this close-up a little bit more of the language we're looking for people to kind of lose themselves in. And again, this sculpture is meant to initiate a very personal response, and it's that kind of personal emotional response that is, it's the way our work has to communicate. So these pieces, I hope you get time before, I think Sunday or Monday, they're coming out of Somerset House, but they're on display for all to see. And if I just jump through a few slides here onto our products, which have a very similar feel, I think, in creating this connection. So we have a collection called Evoke. It is made up of a number of ranges, all which try and harness that power of memory to put into a product. So the first product we released was called Canopy, and it's looking at that dappled light falling through a forest canopy and capturing that in the form of a slowly animating effect, actually on the shade itself. So by using LEDs, a lens, and a slowly animating picture file, we create this dappled feel on the actual etched surface of the shade and create a second layer of language to interact with our audience through. You can see a little bit more of the detail on the shade here. The next product we've been working on and just released at Maison in Paris was again inspired by the sun. So we've been looking at these different colour temperatures in the sun and how important they are to our own circadian rhythms and our physiological connection with our body clock, and how you can encapsulate this idea in a product that you can manually move from the deepest red at the base of this product as you slide and transition through the vertical column into a white light at the top. So rather than being an LED system that maybe automatically responds, we want you to manually engage with this product and to either flood your wall with colour or to point it back at you and create warmth in your room, or to use a very usable white light when it's at the top of this transition period. And this has got a great response from the audience so far, and it's going to be something that's going to be on sale in the next few weeks, starting to branch out into different people we've met from around the planet whilst on display in Paris. You see a little bit more of the detail here. It's all designed by ourselves and prototyped by ourselves, and we spend a huge amount of time playing to find that magical moment that we can put into a product. The next set of a collection of products we're releasing into next year is entitled Duality, and this is bringing one product with two states of connection with the user. So they're initially going to be two opposing states, and this first product is called Introvert, Extrovert, and it's a product that has a very calm, more your typical product state, a white light, a usable light, a very beautiful sculptural form. We're also going to embed more intense colour, the Extrovert colour, and this will all be controlled off a standard dimmer that we've repurposed to be able to actually flip from one state of colour to another, Introvert to Extrovert. And this is, they're very ambitious projects. It's the same ambition we put into our sculptures. You may know about us from the darc Awards, where we're very privileged to have won 3 awards for our larger work this year. But we want that same ambition in these small-scale things you can take away, specify for your customers, or put into your own home. And just to end today, to kind of top and tail the way we think and research within our company, we've been using a conceptual rendered project to explore how we can use borrowed light or recycled light from the sun and bring this into parts of an urban environment that are maybe cut off from light day to day. So we looked at New York as a case study where there are huge parts of avenues cut off from daylight for most of the day, parts of communities that have been disenfranchised from this lovely golden hour because the buildings have just got higher and higher. So we thought, how can we bring that light from above back down into these spaces and create an artistic intervention that can bring a bit of pride back to communities and engage people with what's actually up above, recreate a view that maybe you don't often notice as you're walking at ground level. You don't often actually look up and notice. So we have explored using a heliostat, which is a device, a mirrored device that tracks the sun, to bounce sunlight onto our reflector you can see here, mounted in a large disc. And what this disc does, it's a faceted surface that is constantly shifting under the heat of the sunlight itself. So it would be engineered to actually not quite break, but warp under the heat of the sun and create this reflective shimmering artistic intervention on the side of the building that's always in darkness. And what that does is from street level, it creates a fantastic statement in an area that's normally in this kind of shaded environment. But also from within buildings, you can look out and see something that's very much linked to the real sun above. I mean, it is, we have created this pattern, but it's the sun above that's making it change in intensity. So it's a real tangible connection to the real sun above. And this is a project which we, as a company, 25 people, heavily orientated in engineering, we know this can be made technically. The problems we would have are planning, I imagine, to try and get this kind of thing put in place. But the way we intend this kind of project is it would be a sort of medium-term installation where you'd find a position on a building for a couple of years where you could help to reinvigorate the community below and help promote thinking about how do we actually bring light intelligently back into a space that's been just cut off from this magical world above. So to sum up, I think the importance of motion in lighting design for us is absolutely number one. We want to bring an element of poetry into lighting, because without that, you end up with an environment you're disconnected from. And certainly with phones and technology, we're more and more isolated as human beings from the world we live in. And we want to make work and products and lighting interventions that help connect people with the architecture and the space around them. And I think that's a much more exciting place to live. And that's it for me. Thank you very much. Thank you.